Welcome back to System Prompt. It's episode number 19, Peter. It's episode number 19,
Yeah, and we missed a week.
and we missed a week, but we're back. We're back for episode number 19. Welcome back to System Prompt. One more away, and then we're in the top 1%. One more away. Welcome
Yeah,
back
for
to
those of
System.
you that are questioning our consistency, my son was born, so it was dire straits. We couldn't do it. It was just way too busy, and we're back this week, and we have a good one in store for you.
We definitely do. My name is Val,
And I'm Peter.
and we are going to be diving into building with real world agents for business. And our focus today is going to be building agents with Microsoft 360. I know it's random, doesn't seem like something that we would talk about, but there's a reason. Want to expand, Peter?
Of course. So one of the things that we talk about a lot of the time is bringing AI to businesses where they live. Now, obviously, I don't want to sit here and big up Microsoft, uh, but they did create this Copilot Agent Studio, which allows you to build agents with low or no code, right? So anybody can pick it up and go. Well, what does that mean, right? Well, let's talk about our thesis. The AI model is not the hard part. The hard part is connecting the agent to the business environment, controlling what it can access, giving it useful actions, deciding what it should remember, making it reliable enough to participate in real work. That's the problem, right? Because we know everybody wants to jump on, everybody wants to use ChatGPT, everybody wants to use Anthropic. What does that actually mean when you're living in a Microsoft environment? Well, they give you this, right? They give you this Copilot Agent Studio that you could jump into. It's included in Copilot seats, right? So if you pay for a tenant that has Copilot seats, those licenses now give you access to this. What are some of the benefits of Copilot Agent Studio? Well, your business or information already lives there. It's already in your SharePoint. You're already in your OneDrive. You're already work in Word. You already work on Teams. You already work in Outlook. You already work in Excel. Maybe Power Automate, right? Uh, the opportunity is that you can build agents that operate already inside the environment the business already uses, as we mentioned before. And there's a lot of things that you don't have to deal with. You don't have to deal with distribution, right? Because you can make this a tenant-wide agent when you create it. So the distribution is already there. It's already available to you. Authentication, well, the agent only has the access that the user who's using it has, right? So that's also built in. You don't have to worry about that. Uh, what do you have to worry about when it comes to a lot of these agents? Well, you have to worry about what your tenant has access. What do the users in your tenant have access to? Who has access? How many are all these SharePoints public? Are they private? Is sensitive information being labeled sensitive? Do you have proper data governance? If you don't, and everyone has access to everything, you might end up in a pickle. Um, right? Do you want that? Depending on the size, probably not, right? But this is a much easier way to introduce a business to AI and especially AI agents. One of the things we did just to get it started, uh, purchase a Microsoft tenant, got a Copilot license, and then we built a chief operating officer coach style agent, right? Uh, then we created a bunch of information. We put it in SharePoint. We created a run book, right? So how should this operating officer should be operating, right? We created Excel sheets. We created to make it look like this is an actual business. It's receiving some information. It's receiving money. It's owed money from this business. It's owed money from that business. These are the future engagements. What does that actually look like in terms of setting up an agent for that? Well, it's actually not that hard. A SharePoint you can do a SharePoint agent, right, which is not using Copilot Agent Studio. You can do a SharePoint agent, which is much like building a GPT. So if you've ever built a GPT in ChatGPT, it's a lot similar to that. Now, but it's not so granular, right? You don't have a lot of controls for the agent specifically. It's just I want the agent to source data from here and there. and you can select which model you want, which is the other good thing about Microsoft, right? You can select Anthropic agents models, you can select ChatGPT models, those live in it. You can also select Windows models, you can also host open source models using Azure AI, but now we're getting a little bit too far here. But let's focus on Copilot Agent Studio for a second, because it actually gives you the ability to make sure you send your model the correct instructions, make sure you're grounding your model in the correct knowledge base, right? You don't have to give it an entire SharePoint. You can give it the specific files that you need it. So in this specific instance, in this example that we were doing, we gave it 6 different documents. Uh, run book, operating officer manual, 3 separate Excel sheets. It worked very well with being able to highlight information and data that was on there. It highlighted the nitbits that we needed to, that were in like amber or red. But then we wanted to go a little bit of a step further, right? What we don't just want to see this in a chat. We wanted to create an artifact. Well, Copilot Agent Studio does something else that's pretty cool, and allows you to create subagents within the agent. So I created a report writer subagent. So whenever you ask for something pertaining to a report or a weekly review or anything like that, it generated an actual artifact, right? Um, and now you have an artifact that's based on the review for that week, so you can store that. Now I wanted to go one step even further after that. Well, what else would you want to do? Well, what if there are things in this report that I want surfaced for the following week? Microsoft has this thing that's called the Dataverse that can feed your agents information. Also, you can create tables. So I created tables for the agent to store the items that needed to get remembered for the following week in those specific tables, and then it would, for the following week, you go, okay, give me a review. Oh, well, last week these are the things that happened. We have to make sure that these items were corrected. And then, is this the best way to come up with this? Look, it's I wanted to root it in some specific business use case, and I wanted to make sure it did something that had some sort of time savings attached to it. So we know that getting surfacing information that lives across documents is a good thing, and we know that generating artifacts is also time consumptive, so we're saving information there. And then we know that we're remembering and we're surfacing different items for the following week. Great. How long did it take me? It took me a few hours to do it. Just sitting there fooling around with it, actually sitting there pressing the buttons. But what did again? What did I not have to worry about here? I did not have to worry about authentication. I'm already in the ecosystem. You try to build an external agent that's going to be attached to your graph, your Microsoft GraphQL. You're managing permissions. You're managing data loss prevention policies. You're managing policies in general, all from scratch. That's now it's on you to manage that, and you're also going to be incurring API costs. So the first thing that I do, especially when I'm talking to a business that already lives in a Microsoft environment, that already pays for Copilot seats, is let's do the low hanging fruit. Let's make sure that Copilot Agent Studio is not an answer for you. Let's explore this first before you're spending any more money on anything.
And I think, the major thing is that, we talked about this in a ton of episodes for a long time. Is A lot of people already have AI in their hands, but they're using it like a traditional chatbot, when really they should be using this to automate a lot of the repetitive tasks in their lives. But you're taking it a step further by saying, hey, this can serve as a chief operating officer, and these are some tasks that it could do. And what it's really doing is pairing the cost that you're paying for Copilot versus the value that it provides. And if it could provide much more value than what it costs, now it's starting to make real business sense. And if you are in the situation where you have a Copilot license and you're trying to understand whether this is worth it, the question is, are you using it the right way? Are you thinking outside the box? Are you using what you already have, what you're already paying for, to maximize your workflow? And and we're going to cover that, and we're going to see what that looks like and Microsoft was just it was low hanging fruit because a lot of people have Copilot already and probably don't even use it for even chat purposes. But if you do, if you're a business and you're already in the Microsoft ecosystem and you have Copilot and your employees have Copilot, this is something that you should be considering when you're trying to figure out how can you maximize productivity, and that's for the business side. But if you're an employee at a company that has Copilot, how can I get more done so I can have more me time? I could go and I don't have to stress about certain things that I normally have to stress about because the tools to allow me to be more productive are already at my disposal. I need to make it to my kid's soccer game at 4:30, and I have a ton of stuff to do. I got to pick everybody up. I got to drop them off. I got to do certain things that are already baked into my schedule. How do I get it done in that little bit of time? These are the kind of things you can think about to maximize productivity because the tools are already there. And what we're going to show you is what that actually looks like. A little further than the average, but use case, but we're showing you what's possible.
Yeah, and again, um, Microsoft makes this easy. A lot of very low code, no code items. We can go through this. Let me just give me a second. Let me see if I can pull this up here so we can actually
This is
see
our
what this
first demo, first live demo and system prompt, but not our last. But
yeah.
we thought it would be good to just start showing you, what we're doing, what we're playing around with, what our thoughts are, and you can actually see this for yourselves because Peter got to work, man. Peter got to work on this thing. He was really he was more excited than I thought for using a Microsoft product. If I'm being honest with you.
You gotta at some point just dive in, right? I mean, one of the things that I constantly preach to people is that hold on, is this gonna is that you have to meet people where they are. So that means understanding and working within the environment that they already live in, right? Uh, that this is what that looks like, right? So we created this, right? DevMesh COO Coach supports the COO of DevMesh services by analyzing operational data, identifying risks, and preparing summaries based on company rules and SharePoint materials. Agent status is ready. First thing, you can sit here and you can select. These are the different options that you have that you can actually use model-wise. GPT-5, you can use up to 5.5. 5.6 is not up there. You can use Opus up to 4.8. Fine. You can, since the last 7 days I've been dealing with my newborn and my wife, I haven't had much of a chance. But these are the, you give it instructions, right? Like the operations, receivable, engagement health, right? And then what it also has is we have an engagement margin, cash in, cash out, AR aging, engagement, health check, operating rhythm, and the AR cash flow runbook for this agent to actually follow, right? So I've done a few of these already on LinkedIn, and let's see it here. So we want to run my weekly operations review and write a report. Now, the cool thing about creating this in Copilot Studio is that it actually will you could follow along with your agent. It'll trace. So you see it. It's grabbing, searching for the sources. It's going through it. My one biggest complaint here is that when it actually kicks over to the report writer, it actually takes way too long for me to actually be able to pull it. Anyway, it tells you, all right, so it completed that. You can have it show its rationale here for this specific agent, which is also pretty cool. And here's what it actually did. So fantastic, right? Look through those things. It's still operating here. And it's like, what should I do next? Now, this is where it's passing off to the subagent specifically, and it's also just taking a little bit longer than I would like to actually do that?
First look, not so bad. Not so bad. I mean, for something where it's low code, no code, um, easy lift. You know, if you're if you're the domain expert, oh yeah, we had a little snafu here.
It
Um,
failed. It's fantastic.
if you're the knowledge expert in your space and you're running a task and you know exactly what that's supposed to look like, this is where you don't need to punt off the knowledge completely to AI. You know what it's supposed to look like. This is really just accelerating what you would have done normally. Um, uh, in you know at the speed of AI. So what does that mean? That means you could jump in there and see where it's doing something wrong and saying, "Hey, I wouldn't have done that." What would you do in that scenario where you're looking at it and you're saying, "Oh, it's doing a step that I wouldn't have considered, or I wouldn't have done, or a wrong step"? What would you do in that scenario?
Well, I guess so. One of the things that I really want to try to make sure of when I'm doing this is really constrain the agent, right? I'm not giving it a huge tool surface. It's not having a ton of things to choose from, but maybe I'd want to, right now we have these two agents, right? And for whatever reason, this is obviously not cooperating. Thanks, Microsoft.
Yeah,
So let's
we're
do.
trying to do you right, and,
We're trying to.
this is how you do it.
Yeah. Well, let's start a new test session. Let's uh, and let's see if we could do this. Just pop this in here one more time, and you know, not doing yourself any favors here. So while this is going on, yeah. So if your agent is doing the wrong thing, then you really need to see and you need to go into the overview to see exactly what the instructions are for your agent. The main problem with using Copilot Studio is that it doesn't have the same kind of flexibility that you're going to have with code, right? So really, when you're in Copilot Studio, it's tweaking the prompt, it's getting rid of tools, adding tools, really trying to see if those tweaks will actually help it along. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Uh, I like to do sometimes deterministic boundaries within my agents, so I can confirm that the thing that I needed to be done was done appropriately, and that really it doesn't really allow you to do that here. But we'll walk through, show you something like the evaluation, the monitor, shows the agents, the different tools. You can create all of these things kind of from scratch, also. Um, but again, like this part, just takes too long to kick over to the report writer. But again, if this is something, yeah. So you know what? It's just this is just it doesn't want to cooperate.
Yeah. So okay. Now, this is actually a good thing. Now, if you're using Copilot, what do you think are the options? How would you triage this? What do you think we can do to if you're a worker that's using this and you're saying, "Oh man, I'm not technically sound. I want to go curse out the IT team, but I can't because I already did last week, so I can't get them twice." Um, what are the options?
So you go to home here, right? You'll go here to home, and you go. The bot said, "Okay, I am receiving multiple errors when trying to use my report writer agent. What could be the issue?" I mean, this is kind of the problem with using this specifically. You run into these weird issues, report writer troubleshooting. So, report writer troubleshooter. Okay. Continue to receive.
So when this kicks off report writer troubleshooter, it sounds like it's loading an agent that's made specifically for troubleshooting.
Yeah. Or it's decided. So what ends up happening here, right? This will create an agent for you, which is not necessarily what we wanted here, right? You see this. So it created an agent there for the report writer troubleshooting. This is the actual report writer agent here, right? So
Okay.
that's in the agent area. We have create. We have this. We have dynamically fill completion after running, right? The response to generative AI. Specify with the agent. Yeah, it's not supposed to respond or anything. Let's test. Curious to understand exactly what is going on here. So what we could also do here is there's evals, right? So let's start a new set of evals. Let's do quick generation of 10 sets. See if we have if there's any specific issues that we run into.
I mean, it's pretty cool that it gives you the power to run evals right there.
Yeah, but what would I do if I didn't get the right eval with the prompt, right? What if it said it wasn't good? How do I fix that? Do I fix the prompt? Do I fix the system prompt? Do I rejig the behavior? Sometimes, I mean, basically, we're here, we're doing some prompt engineering, we're trying to pass context over to the report writer, which I promise you worked last
Yeah, no,
week.
I can
Leave that to
confirm,
go.
but no, man, this is good because this is also why you know we're gonna give our assessment on what we think about Copilot, and if you're running into these issues, you're not the only one. You know?
So here's just a look at. So you can always check the activity of all your agents that you've created in here as well. So you can see. So all right, so let's click this one. This is what testing something out with that one. So this is what an actual completed one looks like, right? So it's searches the knowledge source. You got almost 7 seconds. So we'll say here's about a little over 10 seconds, 13, say like 17 seconds, and then it's a minute and a half for the report writer to actually run. So it took a little bit longer for the report writer to run. So then it breaks down, right? Why this is urgent, unresponsive client missed milestone, 21% margin, 15,000 overdue, and then it gave us this that you could just sit here. Oh, this must be the token expired for that specific thing. Obviously, it's over a week old. Good job, Pete. Anyway, so you can see that here. We actually did download it at the time. Decisions for you, Peter. Do you escalate personally this week or pause new advisory work pending payment at a PO number? So it takes your run book, it takes the instructions you gave it, and it does its best to kind of give you the instructions that you need. Now, one of the things that I wanted to make sure didn't happen was I didn't want the agent giving you the person answers, because you don't want the agent making the decision. You always want the person making the decision. The person just needs to know what the options are in terms of what they can do decision wise. All right. So here, right, that's kind of where we left it off here.
And have the confidence in the information that is being given so that you can make those decisions and not question, oh, is this information correct, is it not correct, am I off? And then now you got egg in your face at the meeting, but having that information so you can make actionable decisions.
Yeah. All right, so the eval is still running. It failed one. See, check that out. Incomplete answer. The agent response did not include the actual rules for red, amber, and green from the template, even though they exist in the knowledge of focus. So, right, this evaluation. I like it when we don't. Sure, submit, share. There we go. Incomplete answer. You could actually see the evals, right? You see it there. It's pretty good. It's solid. Now, I know we're already like 25 minutes in. We've already incurred a bit of a issue here. Let's run it one more time after republishing. Let's see what it does. So it should.
No, the reason I like this is because if you're using Copilot and your natural reaction is to reach out to the IT team and knowing that they're gonna take forever to get back to you, what do you do in the meantime? Well, the tools are there to help you so that you can keep moving and learning how to manage that is this is part of the game, like this is what we do all the time. I mean, when we work with agents, things come up and we got to go and manage those situations because we still have to get work done.
Yeah.
You, if a worker runs into those issues, this is something that they could see as a possible solution to get this thing working again, as opposed to emailing everybody a bunch of times. Because if my eyes are seeing what I'm seeing properly, it looks like it's working.
It hasn't kicked it over to the report writer yet because I didn't tell him to
Okay.
actually write a report. But I wanted to make sure. So you break it up, right? You break up the workflow. You make sure that you're getting some sort of output, which is giving us a review on it. Let me pull the relevant data simultaneously. Operator rhythm and cash flow. Yeah, I've gathered. Here is your fantastic, right? But you don't want this living in a box. You want it as an artifact. So let's see if just using the term report will actually kick this over to the other agent. Because generally what I do is add it to here, right?
Which is what you should be able to do.
Should
You
be
know?
able to do, right? Run my weekly operations review and write a report. That way, with Copilot Agent Studio, it does something similar that Anthropic does, and does something similar that ChatGPT does, where you can actually uh, time the prompts, schedule your prompts, right? So you can do that same thing here. Hey, report writer. No, so it's just report writer. It looks like I'm going to have to try to figure this out. But lo and behold, it's just basically what I'm going to have to do now is go into the actual agent, see what's going on. Why does this keep failing? It has the right tools. Uh, what am I going to do here? Well, I have to read some documentation. I have to look at some forum posts. The same thing that you would do. I'm not just going to jump into AI and have AI solve this problem for me specifically. I'm going to have to actually do a little bit of research to understand why this is failing, where it worked, right? So but here, I can share this part at least. When you're setting up a sub agent, you're here. You scroll down. There's a lot of other different things you can do here. Is instructions. You're pointing it specifically at some of the knowledge. You're giving it the tools, right? So these are the tools that it has: create worksheet, get worksheets, create file, the SharePoint, and create a Microsoft Word document. That's the knowledge. Fantastic. Let's see the evals. If the evals finish running, evals are still running. So far it has done 8 and 1 has failed. Okay, fantastic. Now here, add agent here. Connect your agent with another agent dedicated to handling steps of your workflow. So you go to report writer. When will this agent be used? Agent chooses based on description, right? You can do a message is received, custom client event occurs. So you have, the users inactive for a while. It's redirected. So a bunch of different things you can do here. So you have the description of the agent. right? You can do some advanced. I wasn't going to start screwing around with variables just yet. These are the instructions. You're a report writer, right? It doesn't need a knowledge base, disabled public websites. Otherwise, it's going to start searching the web for certain things, and you really only want it to be grounded specifically in the SharePoint information that you are sharing with it. These are the tools specifically that we gave it to this agent. Dynamically fill with AI, right? Uh, but as you see right now, it has decided that it does not want to work for me specifically. In the past, it did. Maybe. Well, and here you go, folks. These are one of the primary issues in dealing with Microsoft. Looking at different menus I have to go from. You have flows here that's in Copilot Studio. If you're familiar with something, if you're familiar with N8N or Make, that this is the Microsoft equivalent to that. It's called agent flows. Start building agent flows for fast, predictable automations. So you can you go into a designer, you're adding a trigger, you can use all of these things for trigger options, Asana, if you're, RSS feeds, SQL Server, Act. It's a lot. I think one of the things that Microsoft missed the most is just really being able to just pair you with an agent that can really build this out for a non-technical person. Because otherwise, it's a lot of menus that you're going to have to sort through and actually really figure out.
Now, how would you compare this to Claude Cowork?
Well, Claude Cowork can take control of like your files, your folders. It can take control of some of the things on your computer. Uh, but what Claude Cowork is going to struggle to do is access some of the things in your SharePoint, your OneDrive, unless you're actually having it navigate using a browser to to go and actually navigate to those things. And I don't know that that is the exactly what you want to do with Claude Cowork. You want to be careful. Um, Nothing's perfect. Uh, but like we said before, this already lives in your ecosystem. Claude Cowork is an awesome tool that you can just kind of you can use to get this to where you want it to go. Um, but it's not going to have the same kind of access to your ecosystem that this has, which is annoying, right? Because you already know you're if you're working with Claude, you already know that you're having something that can work pretty consistently, especially if you're working with an SDK or an ADK in the back end. Uh, I don't know. I just don't really understand what am I supposed to do with that error that Microsoft gave me outside of googling it and trying to find exactly what that error actually means, right? So I wish it actually explained the failure mode a little bit better, so I can have an understanding of what's happening. Um, and this is supposed to be the trace, right? So this is supposed to be the trace tool. Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest, the thing I'm thinking about is it should have fixed itself. It should have gone in there and yeah, it's giving you the error, but it shouldn't have told you that it had an error. It should have realized that it had an error and worked to triage that before giving you an output. So that's like the first thing that jumped out to me is like why did it tell you that it had an error as opposed to knowing that it had an error with all the context and doing something about it.
Yeah, and it knows exactly what I'm trying to do here, so it's not yeah, it's just a report writer specifically, and it's not showing me. It's Let's see.
Or giving you options on what you need to do.
I
Hey,
mean,
this is disconnected, blah blah blah.
it's giving me a conversation. All right, sorry, something went wrong. We saw that it worked before in the history. The error code is system error. It's giving me a conversation ID, so I don't even have an error code here to work from. So you know what? I guess in the grand scheme, this is how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I'm not really sure what changed, and I don't have a ton of things to actually look into to it's
Yeah. So this is yeah. So we tried Microsoft. We tried our best. Um, but if you are a user of Copilot and you're experiencing those issues, we're going to try to figure out a solution for you because this is happening in real time. So that if you're experiencing those, because the real goal here is to try to utilize AI for something that's much more valuable than the typical use case. But it doesn't help if the system you're trying to use doesn't work. So uh, we're going to try to figure this out. And I think this could be a good follow up. But it's going to be the first of us of a bunch of a series of a bunch of examples that we're going to do to try to just walk people through how to use these systems in ways that we believe can provide a ton of value for real world use cases. And in the future, we would love to get participation from people who are watching and just throw suggestions on, hey, how would you use an agent to do this or that? Or I'm trying to do this in my business, or I'm trying to do that in my business. And as long as it's not something that is incredibly labor intensive, um, we could try to put something together for you. And even if it is, maybe we'll consider it.
I mean, yeah, shoot. I mean, we could use Crew AI, we could use LangChain. I mean, we're using the whole point of using this Microsoft, the Copilot Agent Studio, is so we could see and demonstrate bringing agents into the environments that people work in. And this is part of it, right? This is part of the issue as to why people don't. This is part of the issue as to why people are having such issues with it, and it's happening live right now, right? Because it doesn't give me enough. It doesn't give me enough knowledge for me to understand exactly what's going on. So it hit an unhandled runtime failure at some point when it was passed from one agent to the other. Is it happening inside of the agent? Is it a stale process or a stale build that needs to get re-uploaded? I was assuming that hitting the public republishing it would have solved that if that was the issue. Uh, but sometimes this is exactly where the thing is just start to break down, and you're sitting there trying to just understand what exactly happened.
Well, if you happen to be working at Microsoft or know somebody that works at Microsoft and you're watching this video, what's going on here, guys? Uh, this is the gap that needs to be closed between your average user using AI and your average user having access to AI and actually being able to use AI. And it's not so much bringing everybody to the understanding. A lot of it is also bringing the product to the user. um, and that's the job of the builder, bringing the product to the user and making sure that we can anticipate a lot of the issues that a user will have, and with leveraging AI being able to triage those long before the user actually has to deal with those issues. Um, and and that's on Microsoft. um, yeah, this is all new, but this is the gaps that people may have or encounter. So when they're at work, now what happens is they probably just lost 30 minutes doing something that they're like, oh man, if I would have just done this the old way, I could have got it done. And then now there's difficulty in them wanting to in in reaching those adoption numbers that you want because um, the confidence is not there. So if you're from Microsoft or you know somebody from Microsoft and you're listening to this, hey, you know what? If you want to, come on and we'll talk to you. And you gotta talk to us about that. But we gotta have to shoot it straight with you, and you gotta shoot it straight with us. But this is the goal because we know that it's possible. We use this every day. And how do we get the people in businesses to use this? How do we get them to use it with real world solutions that can provide value to their business every single day.
Well, I mean, we know where to start, and that has to be consistency. And that is probably one of the more frustrating things about this. I mean, yeah, I didn't pick it up for about a week but a process should not have broken over the course of a week where nothing changed.
Yeah, due to inactivity. That's not the process shouldn't break due to inactivity.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
that's kind of, you know,
that's an issue.
that,
That's an
that
issue.
that's it. That is that is an issue.
That's an issue. That means if I go on vacation and I come back from vacation, I gotta worry. No, man, that's not how it's supposed to work. That's not what these products are built to. That's not what these products are built to solve. These products are built to solve um, the problem of making your day to day easier. So
Or at least
yeah,
make an attempt to. I mean, again, the only time when agents are going to be working for people is when they work consistently, they work predictably, and they're actually doing the thing that you needed to do. Uh, and that, you know, at, this is kind of disheartened, this whole experience, because at first this was working for me, everything was golden. I was running evals, I was creating subagents that worked, and now I don't it gave me an error code that doesn't. It's not an error code, just a system error. So I know that part of it worked and it didn't. Something broke in the handoff specifically. So maybe do I change how the handoff occurs? Can I even change something that granular? And yet, so I'm a little disappointed, right?
I
Because
could
I was
tell,
hoping.
man. I could tell. This is what happens with live demos, brother. And I'm actually happy that this happened in the sense that we are showing what happens because now we had a completely different approach that we were going to take to this, but now we have to we have to about face a little bit and say, hey, okay, now what do we do when you're the average person that's relying on AI and it doesn't work? And these things happen. But uh, where's the route that the average user could take that doesn't have your technical ability to get back on track? Because that's the thing that jumps out at me. I'm confident that you're probably going to figure this out if it's not if it's something within your skill set. I mean, within your ability. But if it's something on Microsoft's part, there's nothing you can really do. But if you don't have the technical ability, what do you do in those scenarios?
Well, then, what the hell is the point of a low code, no code solution
And this is
if
the
it's
thing.
going to give you this much? If the behavior is going to change so drastically with nothing changes. Like, look, this is like the lowest hanging thing that I could do. Put 6 files into SharePoint, use that for a knowledge base for an agent. Now, reality looks a ton messier than this. It doesn't look any better than this. It's the SharePoint sites are a lot messier. The files aren't as clean. There's a lot more information in there. And if I can't get it to work consistently with this, then why is this going to be something that I'm going to look to help me out in the future? Like this is the easiest thing this agent is ever going to have to do. It's 6 files. It's got the context. It worked. It worked prior to this, and nothing changed.
Yeah, that's concerning, brother. It's concerning.
Literally, nothing changed. So that's now I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here scratching my head, and I'm going, what the hell happened? That concerns me, especially using this, especially if I was going to do this for a client and I created an automation or created a workflow that didn't work a week after but worked perfectly when I said it, right? This is like the whole thing. Well, it worked fine on my PC, right? But
Yeah,
this is not
classic answer.
the classic answer. and it worked. It worked fine. It's you had a situation where you could see it. Nothing actually changed. Nothing. Nothing changed. There wasn't any new information added. I didn't change anything.
Even if you did change new information, that shouldn't have, for that specific feature, that shouldn't have changed its ability to generate a report. Like, unless you purposely fail with generating a report, then other than that shouldn't change the agent's behavior or ability to generate a report. That's strange.
Well, it looks like it's struggling with the tool specifically, the right tool,
Yeah,
right?
it looks like and that's where I'm like, what could that be? Because even if you change the prompt, even if you change the prompt or you were more ambiguous with your words, it should have had the ability to figure out what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it works now. I will. I will go through exactly what I changed.
Did you smack the computer on the side with the wrench?
Yeah, right. Sent sent
Or
a sent a message to Copilot and said, "You better fix this shit."
else?
No. I changed it. All I did was I went in, I changed a couple of settings, hit save, changed them back, hit save, and then. But it's stupid. Like, nobody should have to do this. But also, I'm just illustrating how long it actually takes when it actually kicks over to the report writer agent. Um, this is the longest part of it. Because here we'll say 10 seconds. Just say 10 seconds. Here we'll say 9. So it's 19 seconds to actually switch the knowledge. And then how long is it actually going to take to actually create this file? If it creates the file. Of course, now it created the file. This is Microsoft. Ask no further about why people are not using Copilot as readily. This is why. This is it. This is quite literally why.
So what I'm thinking is that if that's what it took, that should have been one of the default settings. Hey, go. It seems we seem to be experiencing an issue. Go to your settings and turn this on and turn this off. That's okay. As opposed to saying sorry, it doesn't work. That shouldn't be an answer in the age of AI. Sorry, it doesn't work. Especially if there's other people that have experienced this same or similar error.
So here you go. Here it is. Your weekly operations your report has been documented. It's going over, completed. There's a link here. Download the report here. The report got downloaded. Now let's look at it. You're not gonna be able to see it. I'm gonna have to stop and just change it just a little bit. Just do the entire
Yeah,
thing.
that's when I'm thinking of agent behavior. Those are the things that I'm thinking about. I mean, if you're um, if you're improving the system and you realize that this is an error that happens, those should be some of the triage steps that you provide before saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, there's nothing we could do." That should not be an answer in the age of AI. And but it does work. Look at that. If your computer survived the whacking that you would have given it, then it does work.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, Microsoft really does its best to try to give you the kind of tools that you need to kind of do this. But I mean, the problem becomes consistency, and this is what we're looking at right now. Uh, Consistency. When consistency becomes an issue, I've now spent what 25 minutes trying to troubleshoot something that worked last week with nothing, and nothing actually changed. Now, if I was a worker in an office, I was an employee in an office, and I was trying to troubleshoot this. I'm now spending 20 minutes troubleshooting something that should have taken just a few minutes. A prompt should have just taken a few minutes, and now I'm not able to do what I need to do because this didn't work consistently. But this will, you know, I had done this a few times, right? If you look at the activity, it had completed successfully a bunch of other times before
Saw it.
on it did it.
I
It
saw it. Yeah, I saw it. But no, I mean, the biggest thing that jumps out to me is the agent response with a with a good agent architecture, it should work to get you the best output every single time. This is where when we talk about meeting people where they are, that's what a good agent output is supposed to do. When you're comparing harnesses for agentic coding agents, there's some agents that give you an error saying, "Hey, we ran into an issue," and there's other ones that realize it runs into an issue and then goes and works around that to give you the best possible output, not jibber jabber, but it uses the context because it's still trying to understand the task that you're trying to execute and is giving you an output that allows you to get further to that goal. The biggest thing that jumps out to me is that it didn't do that. Now, the question is like, how long would it normally take for you to generate this report? And if it normally take 2 hours and this is still within the acceptable time, then hey, this is cool. But that's for Peter who went through the troubleshooting steps. But if you're the average worker, would that have taken 20 minutes, 25 minutes real time? Or would this have been a call to IT? Your blood pressure is going up every single time. You still got to get this initial report done. And then now you come back to you get it done, but your frustration is 10% higher than it should be.
Well, consistency is the problem again, because if this took 3 minutes for you to run the previous week, and this time you're having issues doing it, you're not going to give yourself enough time to actually run through and actually troubleshoot, especially after it worked a few times. Now, if you're trying to show up to a weekly review meeting and this is happening, and now you don't have actually the materials, you can't say AI failed me, right? That doesn't that's not how that works. So you're trying to prepare this. So, herein lies the problem. You need consistency. Consistency breeds trust. Trust, with trust comes adoption. That's how this works. It's quite literally how this works.
Hey, Microsoft, you need somebody to test out your agents. You need somebody to provide some good old quality feedback. Hit like, share, comment, and subscribe. And then shoot an email over.
And we've already run this episode like way too long. Like if you're stuck with us at this point, figuring this stuff out, um, it's like you know, like I'm eager to kind of just jump in, and I don't even want to do the next layer now because we're an hour in. I'm not going to show you guys this. Microsoft, we have to do a little bit better than this. So we have it recorded that not only was the error ambiguous, but there was really nothing to really go on it. We just knew that it was failing sometime in a runtime and then the handoff, and I just had to sit there and what a 10 amounted to turning the on switch on and off a bunch of times before it actually ran, which is not what you want in an enterprise setting or an enterprise situation, or a situation in which you actually want people to adopt and purchase these Copilot licenses and have the confidence to use it. Yeah.
At the very least, if that's the case, have the agent say that as an output. That's okay. It's not, that's much better. That gets the user closer to their goal. But to say, sorry, it doesn't work, and then shrug your shoulders and kind of walk off, that's not an acceptable output.
No, and I mean, look, you can prompt it and it'll have like the start of an agent for you, but it's gonna suggest like a bunch of different kind of tools, like the agent that it decided to make. Oh, they wanted to do a troubleshooting report writer agent. Would that Okay? What would I like to build? Well, I don't know. I feel like there was something lost here, because when you can have when you know and you're using Anthropic or you're using ChatGPT, and you can have it leverage and configure environments for you and basically build these isolated agents for you. Why can't Microsoft leverage some of that within its own harness? Because that's what Copilot Studio is. That's what Copilot is in general. It's a harness. It's a harness that uses a ton of different models, and that's when I'm using it, I feel like this big sense of loss, because there is no back and forth for me to go to, right? Um, kind of create an agent a certain way, run. I have to sit there. I'm working within drop downs. Once you and once you want to pivot and you want to go over to like the ADK, which is the agent developer kit, now you're in a pay per use zone, right? So it's a, so it exists, but now it's a different.
Microsoft, this is what it looks like to lose somebody in real time. Just letting you guys know, right? This is what it looks like to lose someone in real time. Somebody who was an ally in real time. Not an ally. Let me take that back. You weren't an ally, but you were. I think we were both like, "Oh, okay, this is pretty decent, man." And then this is what it looks like to lose someone in real time.
56
So,
minutes. That's what it took. 56 minutes. Like, I got to do this for work, man. And I'm sitting here scared now. I'm about to tell them, forget Copilot Studio. Let's just use Anthropic or ChatGPT to be more consistent. I'll screw it. We'll just set up. We'll use the ADK. We'll set up the permissions. It'll be granular, so we know it's not breaking anything. We can set up our own data protection TPL policies. Uh, but man, I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I had a hell of a week. My son was born. I know this shit worked. Microsoft. What,
this is what it looks like. Frame that in real
you
time.
know, and I was sitting here defending, like I was defending Microsoft to
Bro,
people. I was defending to you. There's somebody else that was like, and they were just like, look, they're like, Microsoft, it's just not great. Copilot's just not great. And I'm just like, I've had a good experience with it so far. And then
bro, you sold me. I'm like, are you sure? And then you're like, hey, take a look. I'm like, okay. You know,
it's got some cool things in it, right? It's got some
it
cool
does.
things in it, and
I mean, it still meets the user where they are. I mean, if you're in the ecosystem, is there, but it has to work, man. It has to work. I mean, this is you're talking to guys who debug all day, and we're saying this. So our threshold for things going wrong is higher than the average person. Now, if you're not, and you got the report to work 3 minutes in 3 minutes last week, you're anticipating that you probably have more wiggle room this week. You got to get the same report doing, but in my mind, I would say, okay, I could use some of that free time, which is what the agent's supposed to allow you to do. Open up free time for you to do other stuff. Okay, let me squeeze this and squeeze that in. And 10 minutes before the meeting, I'll generate the report and I'll get and go. That's how real people work. And then this happens before. Oh my goodness! It's like a punch to the stomach.
yeah, because now you
This
don't have
is
anything. You got, for a lack of better terms, you have you're stuck with your thing in your hand, and that's it. And you're just kind of like,
yeah.
well, what do
This
I do?
comes excuse time. Oh, guys, I had stomach was bubbling. I had to go to the bathroom. Oh, I'm not feeling too. You put people in tough situations.
They
And the
have to.
worst part is, what do they do? So that's my thing. What do they? Things go wrong. Things go wrong all the time. But what do they do when they're in crunch time and they're relying on a system that's built as reliable? And then they're hearing their buddies saying, "You use Microsoft, bro. This never happens with Anthropic. What do you do? What do you put people in a tough situation, and you may have just lost one in real time. You may have just
I
lost one.
shit. I don't have a choice but to use this in a couple of things that I have to work on. And now I'm scared. I'm just not scared in a sense. Well, I just have to make them aware. Like this, Copilot's the lowest hanging fruit, but it's also inconsistent. and what we get to work today might not work tomorrow. That's something that has to be part of my conversation with anybody that's using this now.
Oh man, it brings a chill down my spine. Goodness gracious. And you're saying that about a Microsoft product. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I mean, if you live in a Microsoft product, you know what this looks like anyway. You're already
Yeah, but
dealing
you
with
shouldn't have to
Word.
deliver this information. You know?
No. But look, we're already an hour in, and hopefully you've had some fun watching this and you get to laugh about Microsoft failures and Copilot Studio failures, and seeing this just kind of play out in real time and watch the flipped on, switch on and off a bunch of times for it to actually get it to work. I was disappointed. I was disappointed. I have to say, and we're definitely going to be adding Microsoft in a lot of these things, and maybe they'll watch it and they can see. You saw it. You saw it work last week. Nothing changed. You saw it. Not, but, look. I wanted to thank you guys for sticking with us, and look, we can do it. We'll we'll show you what the what's funny is that you can leverage like Claude Code, you can leverage Cursor, you can leverage ChatGPT to create these kind of agentic pipelines for you, especially in the realm of like understanding like deterministic boundaries for agents, reducing like the tool surface, which is why I had to report agents separate from the main agent to begin with. Just because you don't want to, I want to have a separation of duties between the different agents. Could I have just given the main agent the ability to report? Yes, I could have, but I wanted to show you the separation of kind of duties because that's what it looks like when you're actually running agentic activities. Not all the agents don't all do the same things, right? You don't give you're not just like let's just give it more tools, and you end up with this big tool surface that it doesn't really know or understand what to pick from based on the context that it's receiving. So you want to kind of constrain it. But then when the runtime kind of fails and you don't have anything to like, that's the kind of thing, right? I'm not hosting this model. It's Microsoft. If its runtime is failing and failing to pass the context over to the next model, there's nothing really for me to troubleshoot outside of sitting here just flipping buttons, which is the frustrating part about it. If it was something that I was hosting or one of my local models that I'm running, I could sit there and I could actually see and visualize where this thing is failing, as opposed to just kind of like, well, maybe it'll work the next time I use it. Like it's absolute horseshit.
That's what it looks like, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Do better. Do
Yeah.
better.
Anyway, Jesus. All right. Anyway, have a great one, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed us having to first be excited about it and then completely in 1 hour, Microsoft completely just lost the two of us. Have a great one. We will see you next.
Thank you, guys.